Welcome back, everyone. It's hard to believe, but it's already the Thursday edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio for another week here. And I'm D Squared. This is the Recruiting Blitz with D Squared, and we're going to talk some Alabama basketball today with one of the best in the business, and that is Jordan Harper of Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals Network. A lot of movement for the University of Alabama, and a key one, and it had a local flavor to it late last night, right before 10 p.m. Been heavily rumored throughout the day that something was coming down. It did happen. R.J. Johnson, who we had on on this show, the Recruiting Blitz, who basically gave us his thoughts on and kind of previewed his announcement where he was going to commit. He committed to the University of Alabama. R.J. Johnson has reopened his recruitment. He will not enroll at the University of Alabama this summer. He is going to find another place to land, and the signing period is coming up this next month in April. So I'm sure he will have a list of suitors, a young man that can play Division I basketball, no question about it, but it will not be at the University of Alabama, which opens up another spot for Nate Oates, Antoine Petway, and this coaching staff. And we know Brian Hodgson has taken over at Arkansas State. The connection there, athletic director Jeff Purinton, who helped bring Nate Oates to Alabama. And, of course, Hodgson followed Nate Oates from Buffalo to the University of Alabama, was in charge of doing a lot of recruiting and legwork also. Coached the bigs for Alabama. Charlie Henry, who was, after Nate Oates retained Antoine Petway, Charlie Henry was the last piece of the puzzle. He was coaching the G League affiliate for the Chicago Bulls, and he came to the University of Alabama as an assistant. He is going to take over the Georgia Southern Eagles. So both those guys with Alabama's, big-time success for the second time in 3 years, winning an SEC championship in the regular season, winning a tournament title, that has certainly set both of them up for success. Both those guys are going on to greener pastures as head coaches. So Nate Oates is going to have to, for the first time really in his 4 years, make staff changes and have a couple of big additions. No names yet. Going to be interesting. Antoine Petway still spearheading the recruiting efforts. The recruiting efforts have already been fruitful as the University of Alabama has been able to add a quality transfer. We talked a little bit about that yesterday. But Jaquan Walton is someone that had an extensive history in the state of Alabama. He played for the great J.J. Jackson, who won 3 state titles, including won the junior year for Jaquan at Carver Montgomery High School, which is a tradition-rich program, the Carver Montgomery Wolverines. Jaquan was considered a 4-star prospect when he came out of high school in the state of Alabama. He signed with Tom Crean's Georgia Bulldogs. That did not work out. He ended up transferring to Shelton State Community College. Was hurt when he first got there, but once he got on the floor, turned into a top 10 junior college prospect nationally. Averaged about 13 points per game for Joseph Eatman at Shelton State and helped them reach the National Junior College Tournament. He committed to Mississippi State and Ben Howland, but Ben Howland's staff was let go. Chris Jans came in. Jaquan asked out of his letter of intent and ended up playing for Isaiah Brown for a year at Wichita State, and it worked out really well. Isaac Brown. Let me correct myself there. But it really worked well. And now, of course, one reason why Jaquan is getting into the portal again is Isaac Brown was let go at Wichita State. And so they've made a coaching change yet again. Unfortunately for Wichita State, in their history, when they have had a little bit of a rough patch, coaching wise, since since they've had to move on from Greg Marshall, they haven't been able to find the right head coach to take that program to the next level. And as we said, Isaac Brown just got let go after this past year. Paul Mills has now been named the new head coach, and he will be the next to try to elevate that program again to where Greg Marshall had it for so many years. It'll be interesting to see if he can do that after all the success he had at Oral Roberts, who he took to the NCAA tournament multiple times. I think he's probably, since the Marshall era ended so poorly, probably the best fit for what they've tried to do. I think he has a chance to have a lot of success. But Jaquan Walton deciding to get into the transfer portal and transfer to Alabama. Now, I've heard that Alabama may try to get a waiver for him, but I think the easiest thing to happen for him to get on the floor right away is going to be to graduate from Wichita State this summer, and because he only has 1 year of eligibility left. Because as we said, he spent his first year at Georgia, didn't play a lot. Basically, that was almost a de facto redshirt year. Then he played, he was with the team, early into his sophomore year, but then left. We ended up going to Shelton State and playing, and so he played a year at Shelton and then transferred to Wichita State last year. So he's played 3 seasons now. With COVID, he might have another year. From what I understand, I think he's only got 1 year of eligibility, though. So we'll see. But Jaquan Walton is a guy that I know they like his length, and he seemed to really blossom last year at Wichita State. I think he did a great job of, as a shooter. He shot 40% from three. He's 6'7". He averaged 13.5 points per game. We're really going to break it down in just about 15 minutes with Jordan Harper, who's done a lot of film study and delved into Jaquan Walton's game, and we want to get his opinion on the impact he could make. But there's no question that Jaquan has got a chance to make an impact in what it looks to be his final year. We can go back in his journey, and as we said, in 2019, in that fall, he joined the Georgia program. He did play in 7 games as a true freshman, but was hampered by injuries and illness. And then, just as we said, 2 games into his second year at Georgia, he left that program and ended up, going to junior college to Shelton State and spent a year there, and then transferred to Wichita State. So and now he's going to transfer to the University of Alabama, which is what looks to be his last year of eligibility. The only reason I hesitated is because with COVID, it's hard for me to keep it straight. So I wasn't sure if he had a COVID year, and he might. It may turn out that he does, but from what I understand, it doesn't look like that's the case, that this will be his final year. And going to try to get his degree from Wichita State and come to the University of Alabama. And again, with his ability to shoot the three, to spread the floor, his length, his defensive abilities, and what he did at Wichita State, I think he'd be a really good fit for Alabama and what he was able to do. Because when you look at it and his stat line and what he was able to do, he played in 28 games, started 27 of them for Wichita State. He averaged, 32 minutes a game. Let me correct myself there, getting that backwards a little bit. But over 32 minutes a game. So he played heavy minutes for the Shockers, no doubt about it. Averaged over 13 points per game, 13.5 points, was a crucial part of their ball club, no doubt about it. So Jaquan Walton was really good and did a nice job for them. And now Paul Mills is going to come in and try to turn things around. But again, when you look at it, I think, you look at his overall stats and what he was able to do, I think Jaquan Walton had a really nice career at Wichita State. And I think he's going to be a really good addition as far as a role player. Is he going to start for Alabama? I don't know that I'm ready to say that, but you never know. You never know how the roster is going to play itself out, how people are going to develop, how quickly he is going to acclimate himself to Alabama's system. And I think getting him in there sometime this summer early is going to be key, and getting him comfortable. And so I think that's going to be really, really key, to his success. And I think when Nate Oates was out there looking, I know they recruited Walton a little bit out of high school, but he really blossomed by the time he got to Wichita State. And I think, there's so much movement now with the transfer portal and with NIL. Guys are going to move around, and so when you still have to track kids that were in your state and that blossom late. And Alabama did it with Mark Sears, who they didn't recruit out of high school that hard, and they're doing it now with Jaquan Walton. I remember seeing Walton play, being impressed with his length and his athletic ability, and knowing that he had a lot of potential. But again, like I said, he didn't really start coming into his own until he played the 22 games or so at Shelton, and then he carried that over to Wichita State. Again, they didn't make the postseason, but Walton, as we said, 14 points, 5 rebounds, and did a great job. In his stint at Shelton, his 3/4 of a season, he averaged, once again, just about 13, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and, of course, 1.3 steals. And I think defensively his length is going to be very valuable. He helped lead Shelton to a 30-win season and the national tournament, and again led Wichita State in scoring, and they are in the American Athletic Conference. A lot of their movement up the ladder conference-wise is because of all the success they had under Greg Marshall. They just have not been able to replicate it since he was unceremoniously fired, for some Bob Knight level conduct, if you want to really if you want to bring up a comparison with mental and abuse, and so a little bit of physical abuse as well, with some reports of striking a player, grabbing a player, and then again verbal abuse. So Greg Marshall has been out of coaching ever since he was his fall from grace at Wichita State, and that program has slipped. So it's going to be interesting to see how Paul Mills does from Oral Roberts. But that move allowed this one, and necessitated, and was able to put those wheels in motion to make the necessary moves for Jaquan Walton, and Jaquan gets into the transfer portal. To be eligible, he's likely going to have to graduate. I think Alabama, like I said, is going to try to get a waiver if possible. But from what I understand, when you talk about 4.2, 4.4 kind of things, and what I mean by 4-year university, going to a junior college 2-year, and then maybe a second 4-year institution after you make the transfer from the JUCO, they don't give you a lot of those waivers now. So a lot of it will depend on probably graduating from Wichita State. Hopefully, Jaquan can get that done. And I think Alabama's very confident that he can, or they would not have taken the chance on bringing him in. So he's going to be hopefully a quality addition for Nate Oates and those guys. And we're going to talk about that with Jordan Harper of Tide Illustrated coming up. But before we do, Nick Saban and the University of Alabama practiced yesterday. We had Jaheim Otis, some comments from him, Chris Braswell. They had a practice later on yesterday. They will be Tuesday. Let me correct myself. Because this show's in the morning, so we brought you Jaheim Otis and Chris Braswell, who spoke before practice on Tuesday. Alabama took to the practice field Tuesday. Now Wednesday they took the day off. They will be back at it this afternoon for their final practice of the week, and then Rubber is going to meet the road. We talked about it a little bit on Talkin' Ball and our sister station 97.7 The Zone earlier this morning with Scott Tyson and myself, and I talked a little Alabama football. They are going to really start grinding and this is when jobs are going to be won, or as far as positions you were on the depth chart heading into fall camp and have a chance to win a job. And put yourself in strong position. But that's going to start happening a week from Friday. A week from this Friday, Alabama will have a scrimmage inside Bryant-Denny Stadium the first of the spring, and then they will have that will start 3 straight weeks of scrimmages. They will also have their scrimmage on April the 15th on Saturday, and then the annual A-Day game on April 22nd. And Alabama will wrap up the 17th spring under Nick Saban before they get ready for the season in the fall. But the next few days, and then starting next week is when it's really going to heat up for Alabama in spring football. This will only be their 5th practice coming up later this afternoon. So we'll start hearing some buzz probably by the weekend. And then, as we said, it's coming up a week from Friday, Alabama is going to take on and going to go ahead and have their first scrimmage. But Nick Saban did speak to Heather Dinich, and we wanted to bring you those comments as he did delve into a little bit of what Alabama's working on this spring so far and what they hope to get accomplished as he spoke on SportsCenter yesterday.
Alabama spring football. Last season, the Crimson Tide finishing 11-2 with both losses coming on the final play of the game. They missed the playoff, but they still finished within the top 5 of the AP poll, and they won the Sugar Bowl against Big 12 champion K-State. They begin this season, though, without former Heisman winner Bryce Young, Heisman candidate Will Anderson Jr. Young won 23 games as a starter through 80 touchdowns. Anderson led Bama in sacks the last 2 seasons. But Bama bringing in the #1 recruiting class this year, featuring 23 ESPN 300 commits. It's the 4th time they've had a class with 20 or more ESPN 300 prospects, more than all other programs combined. This is new on SportsCenter. Moments ago, Heather Dinich speaking with head coach Nick Saban.
Coach, not since 2016 have you had a quarterback competition featuring athletes with such little experience from last year. What can you tell us about where the quarterback competition stands right now?
Well, both of the guys are working hard, and the most important thing is that they can stay focused on what they need to do to improve their ability to play winning football at the position, which is very important because they distribute the ball to someone every play. So it's an important position. They're both guys that have talent, and we just have to try to help them develop and focus on the things they need to do to play winning football.
How different are Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson, and is experience at all an edge for Jalen?
Well, I think Jalen does have some experience, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So it's a competition, and both guys need to, do the things that they need to do to improve. And both guys have had a great attitude about doing it so far, and we're excited about what we can do to help them do that.
We talked a little bit off camera about how much work is going on right here, and it wasn't the Alabama teams you were used to even coaching last year. With 2 new coordinators, a new starting quarterback, just how much effort is going into getting this team back to what you want it to be?
Well, anytime we don't get in the national championship game, there's a standard here that everybody sort of has an expectation for, that we want our players to stay focused on what they need to do to be able to get there. Not the outcome, but what do we have to do to get the outcome. And I think everybody in the organization is trying to figure out, okay, how do we go about this in a way that's going to help us get there with our players, our coaches, and everybody in the organization, because we have a high standard for what we want to accomplish and what we want to do, and we need to get everybody to buy into that and understand the importance of doing the little things that will help them get where they want to be and where we want to be.
And fresh off of that.
That was Nick Saban, and we want to thank ESPN and Heather Dinich, who was live in Tuscaloosa yesterday. She was able to get some reaction from Nick Saban as, again, Alabama will head back to the practice field today for their 5th workout of spring practice. And it is going to be a quarterback competition. There's no question about that. Jalen Milroe, going into the spring, probably had a slight lead due to a little bit of experience coming off the bench against Arkansas, the 1 start against Texas A&M. We didn't see a lot of Ty Simpson, who redshirted last year, but I think Ty has an outstanding pedigree. He's the son of a coach. He's a polished QB. Milroe is an unbelievable athlete from Katy, Texas, probably the best athlete of the Saban era to play the quarterback position, maybe that I've ever seen at Alabama, but has a lot of work to do as a passer and to be a QB that you can count on to win a national championship. And it's mainly the passing game, being able to be like the point guard and distribute the football to the playmakers, especially the wide receivers, the tight ends, even the running backs in the passing game. He can certainly run, but Alabama's not a spread option team, so which would probably fit his skill set the best. So it's going to be interesting to see how much progress he's made as a passer. As you saw last year, it was a little rough. How much progress has he made? We'll start finding out in these scrimmages coming up a week from Friday, and then can Ty Simpson pass him up? He doesn't have any real game experience of playing any downs that matter. He's a 5-star though from Martin, Tennessee. His father is the head football coach at Tennessee Martin, and Ty led his team to a state championship in Martin, Tennessee. His senior season was considered, a guy that's better athlete than you think, really good mobility, and a 5-star QB, but he's still got to go out there and win the job. They've got 2 true freshmen that enrolled early, Eli Holstein from Zachary, Louisiana. We had his head coach on the show. Also Dylan Lonergan, who came in from Brookwood High School, former alma mater of Alabama offensive lineman Kellen Williams. So, we'll see. And, of course, during some point in his career, Lonergan will probably be a pitcher for Brad Bohannon's baseball program. So, and I've heard Lonergan has thrown the ball well in practice the last couple of days. So we'll see where this QB competition goes. It's going to be either Jalen Milroe or Ty Simpson. I favor Ty Simpson, but we will see. Jalen Milroe will have a say in that, and I do think by May somebody's going to take a lead in spring practice, and probably the one that does will be your starter heading into the fall, and the other young man competing. With this climate now with NIL and the transfer portal, I don't think you'll see them stay into fall camp. I think they will move on, which means Alabama could be in the transfer portal for another QB to add to the room, which they would only have 3 on scholarship. So we will definitely be monitoring all that, and we wanted to bring the comments from Nick Saban on today's Recruiting Blitz. Now we need to go to break because we're going to bring Jordan Harper into the conversation, and we're going to talk some Alabama Crimson Tide basketball. Stay with us here on the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio, but don't forget, download our app, go to the Google Store, go to the Apple Store so you can listen to this show Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. You can also listen to the Afternoon Blitz with Captain Cool, John Abraham, and the Bandyman Bailey Lowry. And they were out at Buckhorn yesterday for their celebration. They cut a net down. They talked to the media, had a celebration celebrating the Buckhorn Bucks and Patrick Harding winning the 6A state basketball championship, led by the incomparable freshman Caleb Holt, who was MVP and actually was also named AL.com Co-Player of the Year as just a 9th grader, along with junior Chase McCarty of Westminster. I don't think they've officially announced it. I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb Holt is also state 6A Player of the Year. A remarkable career already started for him as he was first team All-Region and All-Tennessee Valley as an 8th grader, and now the Co-Player of the Year is just a freshman and leading Buckhorn to another state championship, their first since 1995, but now a 4-time state championship program as they won one in 1960 early in their existence, and then 91, 95, and now 2023. But we're going to go on a break. When we come back, Jordan Harper set to join us, Tide Illustrated. Stay with us here on this Thursday edition of the Recruiting Blitz.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know all the ins and outs of insurance claims and will guide you through the entire process. Log on FlemingHSV.com and book your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Guys, when we were 20, we never had to worry about spontaneity. And now that we've gotten older, spontaneity has been replaced with pills and injections. We're just trying to keep that intimacy, but it's taken away from spontaneity. At Advanced Life Clinic, we now offer GainsWave, which uses sound waves to non-invasively treat this issue with no need for pills or injections. Just give us a call, 256-888-9367, or check us out online, advancedlifeclinic.com.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed precision overhead garage door service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked the reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision overhead garage door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision overhead garage door service. Call 256-400-4500. 800.
New name, new players, and an even better championship experience. This April, the Korn Ferry Tour returns to the Rocket City for the 2023 Hometown Lenders Championship at the Ledges. Experience the beauty and drama of the Ledges in person as golf's rising stars chase their PGA Tour dreams. From the first man on the green to the roar of the crowd when the final putt drops. Be part of every moment of the Hometown Lenders Championship at the Ledges from April 24th through April 30th. Tickets to be a part of the action are on sale now at HTLChamp.com.
Tom Abraham here for my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
What's the matter, honey? Can't sleep?
Ugh, it's this heartburn. At night, it's the worst.
Heartburn? Again?
Yeah, I'm done with it. I'm going to kick acid with Rolaids.
Rolaids Advanced goes to work instantly for powerful relief of your worst heartburn, bloating, and gas.
Feeling better?
Much better.
That was fast.
Mm-hmm.
Kick acid and gas with Rolaids Advanced.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm B Squared, Drew DeArmond. And, of course, as we said on Talking Ball, and I just had someone send me once again the approval, but it was only by 3-2 by their school board, so that's going to be really interesting. Russ Probst, he is back, everybody, in the state of Alabama, as he has been approved as the head football coach of the Pell City Panthers. So Russ Probst, that is going to be very interesting, as Pell City has had trouble getting traction with their football program. What can Russ Probst do at Pell City? So that will be something we monitor, no doubt about it. But as we said, going to break, he joined us just a couple of weeks ago, did a great job. As we had him on Talking Ball, and he talked a little hoops with us. Now he's the head basketball analyst, as we said, for Tide Illustrated, which is part of the Rivals Network. And, Tony Sakalas, those guys, James Benedito. I know James Benedito joins the Afternoon Blitz on a weekly basis to talk University of Alabama. And it's a key time right now. It was a great year for the University of Alabama basketball program. Maybe the best year in school history, 31-6, a second Sweet 16 in 3 seasons, a second SEC tournament title and regular season championship. But disappointing to fall short yet again. UCLA went on to the Final Four when they eliminated Alabama 2 years ago. This time San Diego State does it. And now Nate Oates, with all the success, he's got to replace 2 assistants. We talked about it at the opening of the show. Brian Hodgson certainly has got to be replaced. Charlie Henry. And recruiting is going on. The transfer portal is now something that you have to get a hold of every year. We talked about Jaquan Walton. My next guest has broken him down extensively. That's one of the many reasons we wanted to speak with him, as he does a great job for Tide Illustrated, and that's Jordan Harper, and he's joining us from Florence, Alabama, to talk some University of Alabama basketball today. Jordan, welcome back to the show. You're on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. This is Drew DeArmond. How are you this morning?
Good to be back on, my friend. I'm doing great. And, after the last time in San Diego State, I went back and listened, and they proved me wrong, man. They proved me wrong. They played a good Tennessee-style game.
They did. I mean, and after seeing them, and of course, a lot of times it's hindsight. You have to wait and see a team yourself live. And I had seen a little bit of their game against Furman, but watching the way they defended Alabama, watching 2 days later the way they really shut down Creighton, who had scored nearly 90 points against a really good Princeton team, and a Sweet 16 matchup, and then just went up and down the floor. they're as good a defensive team as I've seen all year, especially guarding the ball and on the perimeter, Jordan. It ended up being a bad matchup for Alabama. I don't think it was as one-sided physically as some made it out to be. I think, Alabama out-rebounded them 52-48, so obviously Alabama did some things physically, but they had to earn everything they got, and that's what San Diego State makes you do. They guard you. You have to earn it. You got to play through contact, and depending on how the game is called, if they get it called their way, you have got to step up. You got to make shots. Alabama did not. San Diego State's not a great shooting team either, but they certainly can rebound. They're certainly tough, and they're tough-minded, and I just really admire Coach Dutcher and what he and Steve Fisher have done. Those guys getting to the Final Four, that's quite an accomplishment. They're 31-6 in their own right. And as I've told many people since the game was over, don't focus on that they're from the Mountain West Conference. Just watch their team play, and that's a hell of a program there.
Yeah, I know. The COVID year, they were, I believe, 30-2 when they canceled
that's right.
the season.
Yeah,
and then returned most of the guys. They had, I think, 4 transfers on their squad and several fifth-year seniors. And I mean, they're a veteran, tough, but and when Alabama went up 9, it just seemed like in the past teams would lay down and Alabama would really put the foot on the gas, and those teams had no answer. They called a good timeout, and the Cardinals then happened out of the timeout. They gave up a 3 turnover layup, and I would have liked to have seen a timeout around that time, but, the floodgates opened, and Alabama just couldn't get off the deck after they punched them.
And then, as I've told people, and there's been a lot of talk about the timeout. There's no question about that. But as I've pointed out, though, the whole season, Alabama kind of answered the bell, even when Brandon Miller did not play well. And they went back up the floor, still up 4 points, and they moved the basketball. At times I thought it stuck too much, but they did move it at times. And they moved it. They got a wide-open look from Rylan Griffin, who made the shot in the first half, and he didn't stick the shot. If you make the shot, you go up 7, say you get a stop yourself and you have your own quick 5-0 spurt and you get it back up to 9 with by now under 10 minutes to go in the game, you put a lot of pressure on San Diego State because they struggle to score. Because I think I told you this on the show. I thought the magic number for Alabama was 70, and when you saw how Alabama was starting to assert itself in that second half, even though they played very poorly in the first half, were held to 23. I thought they were well on their way to hitting that 70-point mark that San Diego State ended up reaching.
I mean, in the end, it came down to making shots. You could go 3 of 27 3 and expect to win. And it's still amazing to me that they had a chance to win 45 seconds in the game, even shooting 3 of 27 from 3. That just covers this one is that they can score in a variety of ways. They have leaders that, Marcier steps up even though in the rough game, he steps up late. But this team couldn't get over those long tournament that Brandon Miller had. And, he shot the ball about 4 business all year in that 3-game stretch. And even though they got the first 2 opponents, it only gets tougher as it goes. And San Diego State's in the Final Four for a reason. And with your best player, 3 of 9, and 3 of 21 overall, 3 of 27, 3 as a team overall, it's just tough to overcome.
It is, and then I thought they had 4 or 5 live ball turnovers, and most of them either led to, and again, they had 14 overall, but 4 or 5 of them either led to, and you brought up one of them that Brandon had, that led to layups or getting fouled and hitting free throws. And they're not a great offensive team. So if you give them 8 to 10 points in a game that was close, a lot of times that makes the difference. A few of those possessions for Alabama, if they go well, could have led to Alabama at the free throw line converting or scoring in the paint or even hitting a couple of threes that would have made the difference. So it's just razor thin in the NCAA tournament. Disappointing, but certainly Alabama already turning the page. I know you did a lot of extensive work looking at Jaquan Walton. I'm sure you studied him and remember him coming out of Carver Montgomery, playing for J.J. Jackson, winning a state championship his junior year for the Carver Wolverines. I saw him as well. thought he was a very interesting prospect, Power 5 prospect. Went to Georgia. That didn't work out. Ended up at the in-state powerhouse junior college, Shelton State. And he's had an interesting journey because he signed with Mississippi State, but they let the staff go. He ends up with Isaac Brown at Wichita State for a year. Then Coach Brown's let go, so he gets into the portal. And you can fill in the blanks for me. I was just talking about this before you came on. I think he just has 1 year left of eligibility, but with all this COVID and with again Javon Quinterly finding out during halfway through this year that he's got another season, I really don't know. But for our listeners, I know you've looked into it. What is Jaquan's eligibility status right now anyway, and how many years does he have before we start talking about his game?
Yeah, they have this 4-4 rule about, going from a 4-year college to a 2-year and then graduate from a 4-year college after that. And with that, the COVID year really doesn't qualify. So I reached out to a couple of Wichita State writers, and they confirmed what they thought. He has to graduate this summer in order to play, not sit out, and be with them when they're available to compete. So if he graduates this summer, then, that's easy with online classes and whatnot, but he has to do that in order to not get out a year and use his redshirt year. So basically he has 1 year to play one.
He has 1 year of eligibility remaining. That's good work by you. But now let's talk about Jaquan. He really seemed to blossom. He had injuries, illness. He never really got traction at Georgia. He had a good 3/4 of a year because it took him a minute to get on the floor for Joseph Eatman at Shelton. Led them to the National Junior College Tournament, but he really seemed to fit in and do well at Wichita State. And what he accomplished statistically this year and with his length and athleticism, he seems to be a good fit for Alabama.
Yeah, he's a pretty tantalizing prospect because, he really only showed potential in his first full season with Wichita State. So he's a 6'7" wing, made 40% of his threes. He only took about 40 games, so he's roughly, 1.5 threes made per game. And that 40% even went through a really rough 0-for-18 stretch this past year. So it could even be even higher. But, he makes 74% of his shots at the rim on volume. A combination of, was sure to attract any program in the country. Because anybody that finishes that well at the rim, a very attractive prospect, especially at 6'7", 200 pounds. But his flexibility on offense, where Alabama could really use him as a spot up or put him on the ball occasionally as a secondary creator. So he's a guy that can dribble up, has enough awareness about him to be able to kick out to an opening tonight. Finish at the rim really well. Where he needs to get better at is defensively. He tends to ball watch good defenses easily. I feel like off-ball defense is easily the easiest to fix from a prospect or a player. That's just really locking in defense. But on ball, he's got the speed, man, to be a really good defender. I mean, you look at 6'7", he's a big, funny guy. He moves his feet well. He's athletic. So I'm interested to see who Texas hires as a defensive replacement for Charlie Henry, and see if they do with him. Because Namari Burnett basically took Namari Burnett's spot, and Namari Burnett was an interesting defender because he never looked athletic, he never looked fast, but he always got to his spot. He used angles very well, and ended up being a really good off-ball defender. And I think Jaquan could end up doing better if he buys him. He's got better tools. He's got more athleticism, speed. But he's a 65% true shooting percentage. That's elite, Drew. That's elite. Most of his shots are at the rim, but he could end up blossoming into a really good spot up to point shooting. Basically, what I think is what you saw in Namari. Look at Namari, add 2 inches to him, athleticism, speed, and get better shooting ability. It's just the buying in factor for him that I think is going to be the biggest, because I think that's what had trouble with at Georgia, and that's why he never played that much. I think he had problems with his staff there. But to Shelton State, then I really felt like things clicked for me with the top, and hopefully it'll keep going Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I mean, no question about it. We're talking to Jordan Harbor, Tide Illustrated, as we're talking some Jaquan Walton coming to the University of Alabama. Again, like you said, I think he has a lot of potential. What do you think ultimately was Namari Burnett's undoing? He had tough injury luck when he first got down to Alabama from from Texas Tech, and Chris Beard. He got injured. He didn't play the entire season. He got back last year, was starting, did a great job against Marcus Sasser against Houston, but hurt his wrist, missed some time, and then really never regained his starting position. I never thought he really got comfortable shooting the ball. Certainly, as you said, he was a really good off-ball defender, but I thought limited athletically, and I really didn't see a way he would be starting next year with Rylan Griffin's upside. Also, when you think about the potential of Javon Quinterly coming back, because that's hard to believe, but it could happen. So it seemed as though Namari was thought that maybe his role once again would be limited and he would be maybe a defensive stopper, a role player, and he wanted to go somewhere else and have a bigger piece of the pie as far as role goes.
Yeah, I think the role next year, I'm sure him and the staff and his family probably sat down and talked and realized that he could probably find a bigger role somewhere else. It's tough, though. Tearing your ACL, hurting your wrist, never really being able to get going because we saw the potential we could do it. I followed Namari probably 2 years in high school because I knew Alabama was really interested in him.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he should have been to Alabama out of high school because I just knew that Texas Tech wasn't a good fit for him systematically. But, I think he's somewhere where he's going to be able to start right away. And the thing is if he doesn't get the waiver, he might with his injury history or, I don't know, he still have to sit a year once he gets the waiver. So that's why it kind of took me by surprise. But if he's wanting a bigger role elsewhere, I have no doubt he'll find it at a different play.
And who are the other targets you're kind of zeroing in on for Alabama? Because the transfer portal is now such a big part of it. Certainly we had an interesting development we'll talk about in just a second last night. Someone that's not going to be part of the signing class now, which leaves 3 signees that have not enrolled, and Davin Cosby, who redshirted and decided to enroll early at Alabama, definitely has I think fits the system as a shooter, maybe a longer, more athletic Namari Burnett, so to speak. We'll get your opinion on that. But who are the transfer portal targets you're kind of zeroing in on for Alabama right now?
Yeah, going into the offseason, I thought it would be a pretty quiet offseason for Alabama in terms of transfers. They would end up having, if other things stayed the same, assuming JQ left, Alabama would have 2 spots to fill. And that's pretty quiet considering most teams replace half their team every year. You remember Alabama last year pretty much flipped their whole roster, only bringing it back, I believe, 3 players. It's turned out to be a more exciting active once you start seeing quick fixes that the portal offers, to where you don't have to develop freshmen as quick as it did in the past. You kind of just plug and play guys with Jaquan Wilson and not having to push, guys like Muhammad Diabate in the freshman class to be an impact player in the fourth class, and just kind of plug and play a veteran kind of like Walton. But some guys have come up that Alabama contacted that I believe they have a good shot at and would fit the system well. The first guy is going to be Denver Jones, 6'5" guard out of International. I reached out to a couple Florida guys that have watched him this season, and they say he's not very athletic, he's not uber talented, but he is a volume scorer, a great shooter, and just a decent scorer, really. league average field a game, so he's a solid defender, even though the competition and the talent level is obviously higher in SEC, but shows that he's a willing defender. He's got splits of 48 from the field, 37% from 3 and 85% from free throw line, so super efficient. And he scored 20 points in 17 to 28 games this year. That shows that he's this. But the one thing that he really has to control is turnovers. He averaged 3 turnovers a game, which he was the primary point guard at Florida International, so he always had the ball and played 34 minutes a game. And he would be more than a ball into 2 in Alabama's system, so he wouldn't be asked to be a playmaker and just to get somebody else the ball. Denver Jones is obviously somebody that's on the list in the speed to be that number 2 guard. Keon Benefield, the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year at Washington, is a very interesting prospect. 6'2" point guard, probably quick as I'm thinking a point guard to something Lewis. Elite first step, incredible speed, great playmaker. His shooting splits are kind of underwhelming, but he's also only a freshman last year and was asked to play a lot of minutes. But one thing that I really liked was he only turned it over a little over 1 time per game in 28 minutes as a primary point guard. So he takes care of the ball, and he really sets up others. He really puts a lot of pressure on the defense. You look up and highlights that first step when he's driving. There's not many guys that can stay on him, and it's about impossible not to help off of him. But I feel like it's probably between Alabama and Louisville with Keon. I feel like they've probably been in contact for a little while before he transferred, but it'll come down to those two likely. And another guy that I've really loved, and a lot of people have a lot of footsteps on, but I really like Caleb Williams. I feel like Alabama probably had their eye on him, knowing that he was probably going to leave UNC after this year. A lot of drama going there with Hubert Davis. And you're seeing a lot of players there, so you figured he would transfer. But I mean, he's just already long. He's a volume scorer, so he takes a lot of shots. Scores about 17 goals. Has this past year, I kind of give him a pass on his percentages. He shot 30% this year, but he shot 31%. I kind of look at that probably be closer to 34, 36% for him. He's not going to be asked to score or shoot that much at Alabama or get it. UNC plays a very boxed-in offense where he's taking tough mid-range shots, a lot of contested shots. He had, I believe, the top 5 most contested shot attempts in the ACC last year. Just because of the offense, having Armando Bay's top field and having to play through him a lot, it really forced him to take tough shots, and he shouldn't have taken a lot of them. But I feel like in a more spaced out guard or spaced offense, he will be able to flourish and get more open shots and he'll be able to do the percentage. But those are 3 guys that are important. But I feel like Alabama's going to go pretty guard maybe next year. And they're really going to space out. And if you remember what Auburn back in 2019 just played a bunch of those 6'4" and under guards and really spacing, penetrating kicks. And I think you'll see better receivers on the floor next than you see this year for Alabama.
No question about it. Well, we need to take our final break. If you can hang on with us, we're going to get some final thoughts from you with the departure of R.J. Johnson and then with the spots that Alabama's got. But we're going to go on our final break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio with D Squared. I'm Drew DeArmond. Stay with us.
The Blitz has been called. Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
President's Award winner 2 years in a row. That's only given to the top 10% of Ford dealers in customer satisfaction. So we're very proud of the service department. And our body shop. If you happen to get into an accident, which not a lot of people just want to go down and see a body shop, but if you get into an accident, award-winning body shop. We have state-of-the-art paint booths back there. They're waterborne paints that we use, friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on. All done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop too. Don't forget our parts department. So if you happen to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
With over 100 F-150s to choose from and available financing as low as 0%, now is the perfect time to put one in your driveway. It's Truck Month at Woody Anderson Ford. I, Bobby White, back again, inviting you to come on in for the best selection of F-150s we've had in a while. And if you find one that you like, there is no payment for 90 days. Also, during Truck Month, not only do you get 0% financing for up to 36 months, but we've also got 2.9% financing for 5 years on remaining 22 models with your good credit through Ford Motor Credit. This offer ends April 4th. And don't forget, we make it really easy for you to trade in and trade up on a Ford Blue Advantage Gold Certified or Blue Certified pre-owned vehicle. Great warranties, 24-hour roadside assistance, and you take it home with a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. Hurry on in for Truck Month. 0% financing, no payments for 90 days, and over 100 F-150s to choose from. Woody Anderson Ford, hope to see you soon.
Renowned sports artist Daniel A. Moore has teamed with master sculptor David Grieco to create Finish, the first in a line of limited edition bronzes. See the artist's work on Finish now at newlifeart.com. Finish captures Kenyon Drake's dive into the end zone after his 95-yard kickoff return in the 2016 National Championship game. Available in 3 sizes with the artist and Kenyon Drake signatures cast into each piece. Pre-casting prices are available at newlifeart.com. Hurry, this offer won't last long.
Welcome back as we wrap up this Thursday edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. Jordan Harper, good enough to stay with us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jordan, but real quickly, we kind of referenced it earlier in the conversation. Alabama with now they are one less as far as they had signed or committed 5 guys in the recruiting class after Chris Parker. It's down to 4, a departure with R.J. Johnson. Your thoughts on R.J. Johnson moving on?
Yeah, it was kind of expected for a lot of people, around the situation. I questioned taking him in the first place just because, and it's no look on RJ. I've watched him for several years, and he's a very talented guard. It's just, in these days with the transfer portal, like I mentioned before, you get these seniors that come in as really good, and it's really just a quick jump start from losing like Brandon Miller the previous year. Immediately impact guys. RJ's a guy that I expect is a very capable guard, and either the low group of 5 confidence with grooming. But when you're in a position where Alabama is, and they go to replace 2 assistants and really having to flip the roster again, losing your best 2 players, with your best 3, he doesn't come back. There's just a lot of pressure to be able to fix it quick. And I feel like RJ wasn't part of that plan. Should have been going heavy, converting, attacks in the portal. But I hope he lands on his feet. But I know, the situation got kind of murky in the very after the New Year. So, I feel like Alabama is going to go to RJ in the transfer portal, and that was part of it.
And no question. Well, great stuff. We thank you for the comments and your thoughts, especially on Jaquan Walton. Very good insight. Let everybody know how to follow all your work at Tide Illustrated.
Hop on at Tide Illustrated, part of the Rivals Network. I'm constantly covering basketball transfer portal, assistant coach news, and they're starting to ramp up spring football practice. You can follow me at HarperNation24 on Twitter. I'm very active on there. And go subscribe and listen to my podcast, the Double Dribble Podcast. It's been around for 3 years, dedicated solely on Austin, Alabama basketball and Alabama basketball recruiting.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. That's Jordan Harper. Don't forget, guys, download our app, the Afternoon Blitz, later today from 2 to 4. It's John Abraham, Captain Cool, and the Bailey Lowry, the Bandy Man. And they'll have, I'm sure, a lot of thoughts on Buckhorn celebration, the state title, and more. And we'll talk to you tomorrow on Friday. Everybody have a great rest of your day, everyone. And remember, the Braves at noon today on 97.7 The Zone, opening day.
Normally, when you call a roofing company, all you hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Since 1965, the folks at Fleming have been focused on what you need, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement, commercial or residential. And when it comes to storm damage, you want Fleming on your side. They know